Can a single jam jar threaten a throne that has survived 1,000 years of war, scandal, and rebellion? Picture it. A glossy strawberry preserve stamped with 3 forbidden letters, HRH, quietly delivered to Hollywood doorsteps. One look, and royal aides are gasping, reporters are dialing sources, and King Charles is holding a pen that could erase Meghan Markle's title in a heartbeat. It isn't about fruit spread. It's about a promise broken, a monarch's patience running thin, and a countdown that's rumbling through Buckingham Palace like distant thunder. Because if those 3 letters disappear tonight, everything Meghan has built on them might crumble by morning. Ready to see how far a jam jar can shake a crown? It began with a whisper of strawberry and sugar, 12 glass jars, hand-tied with pastel ribbon, landing on the marble kitchen islands of Hollywood's most followed tastemakers. Each lid bore a delicate gold cipher, 3 letters Meghan had promised never to flaunt again, HRH. Screens lit up. Unboxing videos exploded across TikTok before breakfast. Viewers swooned at the American Riviera Orchard label, then froze as cameras zoomed in on that royal monogram. Within minutes, #Jamgate was trending, and palace switchboards were blinking like Christmas lights. The reaction was split right down the middle. Influencers gushed that the preserve tasted like a summer picnic in Cannes, while royal watchers blasted the stunt as a brazen cash grab. Orders for the yet-to-launch jam waitlist crashed the brand's site twice, even as commentators called the drop a strawberry-scented middle finger to Buckingham Palace. By sundown, the jars were selling on resale apps for 4-figure sums, proof that controversy, like sugar, only thickens the mix. But the biggest ripple wasn't online. It was a silent one, sliding onto King Charles's desk with a clipped memo. "Your Majesty, the Duchess is using HRH in commerce." The king set down his pen, the palace clocks seemed to tick louder, and the real fuse began to hiss. Because if a teaspoon of jam can bend royal rules, imagine what happens when the monarch decides to snap them back. Roll back to January 2020, Queen Elizabeth's crisis summit at Sandringham. Cameras never caught the conversation, but insiders call it the handshake deal. Harry and Meghan could keep the style his and her Royal Highness on legal paper, yet swear off using it in public or for profit. No royal speeches, no product labels, no sly signatures. It was trust, pure and simple. Fast forward to spring 2025, Meghan posts a glossy Instagram story. A letter of thanks from Ukraine's vice president addressed to Your Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. The caption, a single heart emoji. It took 10 minutes for screenshots to ricochet across X, 15 for palace aides to realize she'd crossed the invisible line. That one repost turned the Sandringham handshake into a fistful of air. The monarchy runs on symbolism, and nothing rattles it like a promise turned souvenir. Every HRH stamped jam lid, every letterhead flourish, broadcasts the same message. Rules are optional if you have the followers. To the public, it looks bold. To the crown, it looks like betrayal in fancy script. And that is why a quietly furious file now sits in the king's red box, titled simply, Options for Removing the Style. Because when a royal promise snaps, the backlash isn't loud, it's precise, silent, and final. King Charles built his first months on restraint, less pomp, more quiet charity, a monarch who listened instead of thundered. But every headline about jam lids and monogram stationery chipped that image away until even friendly papers asked the same question: is the king afraid to act? Inside the palace, that doubt stings more than any tabloid jab. So the whispers began. Senior courtiers, veterans of the Diana years, pulled out an old remedy, a swift letters patent, one stroke of ink that would vaporize Meghan's right to the royal style. No Commons vote, no drawn-out inquiry, just the sovereign seal, and an announcement at 10 a.m. sharp. The proposal now rides in Charles's red box, waiting for a moment when frustration outweighs caution. Grant Harold, who once laid Charles's breakfast tray, added fuel on morning television. Meghan's hospitality venture, he said, will flop harder than a cold souffle because she's about as welcoming as the reptile house. Cruel? Maybe, but the line landed like a gauntlet. Each replay reminded the king that patience can look like weakness the longer it drags on. For Charles, This isn't personal, it's institutional. Strip away empty ceremony and the monarchy is reputation, nothing more. Let one duchess turn those 3 letters into a logo, and the whole facade starts to wobble. The king knows it, William knows it, and even staffers guarding the palace gates know it. Now the decision window is shrinking. Trooping the color is weeks away. Foreign journalists already polishing questions. Either the monarch draws the boundary before the parade, or he watches the parade become the question. And behind closed doors, aides are bracing for the moment the king finally reaches for that fountain pen. Inside Buckingham's limestone maze, the mood has curdled from polite concern to controlled fury. Footmen swap rumors in hushed corridors. The Duchess's stationery now features a crowned M, a flourish no department ever signed off on. In the Privy Council office, clerks sift through trademark filings that read like fishing nets, scooping everything from hotel linens to peach-scented candles, each application sprinkled with enough heraldic hints to keep the lawyers up at night. One aide mutters that Meghan's business plan treats the monarchy like a free-range brand asset, and nobody even bothers to shush him. Tension spikes each time marketing analysts email fresh numbers. Every HRH-tinged post inflates sales by double digits, but slices the palace's approval ratings just as fast. Worse, rival companies are filing confusingly similar complaints, arguing the Duchess leverages royal iconography they can't legally touch. To veterans of the Crown's image wars, this feels less like a misstep and more like a hostile takeover, executed one scented label at a time. The Lord Chamberlain's staff draft briefing papers titled Reputational Dilution Risk, stark, bullet-pointed and damning. Their conclusion, if the king hesitates, the brand of monarchy blurs into lifestyle merch before the year is out, and so the palace bunker mentality tightens. Meals are shorter, doors close quicker. Even the Corgus seem to sense the chill. Yet amid the swirl of memos and muttered outrage, a single question hangs in the stale London air: where is Harry? Not long ago, Prince Harry could electrify a stadium just by ambling on stage in rolled-up sleeves, tearless, grinning like the friend everyone wished they had. Today, his public appearances feel more like contractual obligations, smiles tight, answers rehearsed, jokes landing with a thud. The Invictus Games, once his passionate showcase, saw him whisk through press lines with the enthusiasm of a man late for a root canal. Viewers noticed. "Where's the spark?" became the comment section refrain. Friends quietly say the rift over HRH is the weight he can't shake. In private, he winces each time Meghan's ventures flash a crowned monogram across social feeds. In public, he shields her from the fallout by saying nothing at all. The result is a prince trapped in feedback delay. Speak up and risk family wrath. Stay silent and look complicit. Every option bruises a different piece of his past. The optics worsen with each cycle. Paparazzi shots frame him a step behind Meghan, head slightly bowed, the once confident lead now reduced to careful background blur. His memoir, Spare, sold millions, but also cemented an image of a man forever explaining himself, first to the firm, then to the press, now to his own conscience. Inside the palace, aides whisper that Harry hasn't called his father in weeks, communication routed through intermediaries like a Cold War hotline. To the monarchy, his silence costs more than any book deal ever earned. A prince who won't defend the crown while it's under siege looks less like a rebel and more like a bystander, and every day he hesitates, the argument for stripping titles gathers fresh momentum, because if even the Duke won't use them with care, why should anyone else? Yet one move still rests squarely in Harry's hands. He could publicly renounce the HRH himself, severing the tension in an instant. But will he? Allies say he's torn between loyalty to his wife and fading loyalty to an institution he once called the family business. Detractors claim the decision was never his to make. Meghan drives the brand now, and the brand needs those letters. Either way, the clock is ticking louder than ever. Harry's vanishing act might spare him a headline today, but it won't shield him from the next one when the king finally acts. Because the moment Charles lifts his pen, titles don't just slip away, they disappear, leaving history to fill the silence that follows. Royal styles vanish faster than most people lose car keys, and the palace already owns the playbook. In 1996, Diana stepped out of court as simply Diana, Princess of Wales, her HRH gone the instant the divorce ink dried. That same summer, Sarah Ferguson waved goodbye to hers too, one brisk line in the London Gazette turning Her Royal Highness into just Sarah Duchess of York. Jump to 2022, and Prince Andrew's HRH evaporates under a cloud of scandal, a terse palace statement landing like a guillotine, "Thank you, good night" title withdrawn. Legally, it's shockingly simple. The king drafts a letters patent, a formal proclamation on thick vellum, authorizing the removal of the style. No parliamentary showdown, no public hearing. One signature, the Great Seal, and centuries of protocol snap into effect. Courtiers then update the court circular, websites refresh overnight, and an ancient herald in tabard reads the change aloud at St. James's Palace. By dawn, the HRH has slipped from stationery, security passes, and Wikipedia pages alike, as though it was never there. But symbolism hits harder than law. Losing HRH isn't like misplacing a badge, it's watching a lifetime of deference dissolve into plain speech. Overnight, staff switch from Your Royal Highness to Ma'am. Embassies adjust seating plans. Even airline manifests downgrade the honorific. It's the monarchy's quietest, but most public rebuke. For Meghan, every brand touchpoint, jam lifestyle blog, upcoming hotel plans, leans on the shimmer of those three letters. If they disappear, so does the aura, and the market value with it. And in the court of public opinion, a stripped title speaks louder than any palace press release. It says the crown drew a line and meant it. So what happens to a business, and a persona, built on three royal letters, when the ink that created them is wiped away? Strip away those three gilded letters and Meghan's empire looks suddenly mortal. American Riviera Orchard, recently rebadged, as ever after a tangle of trademarks, sells more than jam. It sells the fantasy of a duchess's pantry. The podcast leans on behind the gates intrigue. The rumored boutique hotel chain markets royal-level hospitality, and every Instagram post swims in candlelit Windsor nostalgia. PR analysts call it the halo premium, the quiet price bump consumers pay for believing a palace secret is baked into the product. Take away HRH, and that halo flickers like a bulb on its last watt. Brand strategists are already crunching the fallback math. Without royal shorthand, packaging must work twice as hard, influencer fees spike, and U.S. trademark defenses weaken, because Sussex can be contested once it's no longer an active royal style. One consultant predicts a 40% drop in launch day buzz if the title vanishes. Another warns retailers will rethink prime shelf space once the aura deflates. Even the planned spa line, rumored to bottle regal tranquility, looks less enticing when the regal part is legally erased. Investors, once dazzled by perceived pedigree, may start reading the balance sheets instead of the fairy tale. Meghan could of course pivot, rebrand around California, cool, double down on philanthropy, or position herself as the anti-palace entrepreneur. But that requires admitting the royal glow was never just background decor, it was the scaffolding. Without it, every product faces the same blunt consumer question: is it still special, or was it only royal? And that brings us to the looming showdown. Because the king's pen is hovering, the PR clock is ticking, and the value of a single signature could redraw the royal marketplace before the next sunrise. Dawn breaks over the mall, and palace staff already feel the static in the air. Couriers pace outside Clarence House clutching sealed folders. 2 drafts, 2 futures. Draft A removes only the HRH, clean and quick. Draft B swings wider, instructing Parliament to debate the Duke and Duchess titles themselves. Whichever page the king signs will hit news sites by lunchtime. Buckingham's press office has both statements pre-written, time-stamped, and ready to auto-publish at 10 a.m. Insiders whisper that Charles's patience, once elastic, has snapped to piano wire tightness. He's taken private counsel from William, who argues a leaner monarchy can't afford brand bleed, from Anne, who growls that rules are useless if they bend, and from aides tallying overnight polls that show public support for action nudging 60%. Yet the king also hears warnings. Strip the style and critics will cry revenge, tabloids will trumpet petty Charles, and American networks will paint Meghan as the silenced outsider. Either way, the monarchy bleeds. Question is, where does the tourniquet go? Across the Atlantic, Meghan's team pre-drafts its own social strategy, a measured statement if HRH falls, a full-court media press if the dukedom is even discussed. Reporters track private jet tail numbers, convinced lawyers are jetting into London just in case, and Harry, he's scheduled for a veterans event in San Diego. One well-placed aide claims he'll cancel the moment a palace alert pings his phone. Trooping the color looms a mere fortnight away, and Charles refuses to let the spectacle become a sideshow about jam. Tradition demands clarity, titles defined, boundaries drawn, pomp unmarred. The red box will return to him tonight. The pen will hover for seconds that feel like centuries. Around the world, laptops stay open, anchors rehearse cold opens, and millions of viewers wait to click refresh. Because when that signature lands, whether on draft A or draft B, the monarchy's next chapter begins, not with a trumpet fanfare, but with the quiet scratch of ink, deciding who may still call themselves royal. A single strawberry preserve was never just a sweet spread. It became the litmus test for how much tradition a modern monarchy can surrender before the crown itself loses its shine. Meghan's monogrammed venture exposed the fragile line between personal ambition and inherited authority, and Harry's silence only sharpened the stakes. Now King Charles hovers at a crossroads. Keep the titles and risk watching the royal brand melt into merchandise, or swing the pen and redefine what it means to be royal in the 21st century. So ask yourself, if royalty turns into a logo, does anything sacred remain behind the palace gates? Or is the monarchy's true value measured not by titles, but by the steel to defend the meaning behind them? Let me know your verdict below, because once those three letters are gone, the echo will be louder than any coronation drum.